So we're hoping the recording, just so everybody knows, we're hoping the recording will work and we can, post the video recording later. We'll see how it all goes. But yeah, I wanted to get things started because I wanted to make sure we had the full time to get to all the information that we were hoping to give you and answer any questions. So just to orient everybody, this is the Stanford Health Policy Master's Program pre-application information session. Hopefully you are all in the right place. What we are hoping to do today is to talk to you all a little bit about the Master's Program in Health Policy here at Stanford and the application process, and hopefully answer, like I said, answer some questions that you might have. For starters, that we would introduce ourselves. I will let Ms. Abutu, our fabulous Student Services Officer, start and introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Abutu. I've been working with Stanford Health Policy in different capacities for the past 2 years, and I'm excited to serve as the Student Services Officer for the Department of Health Policy, and I hope that we can answer all your questions today.
Thanks so much. Yes, so I am Corinna Haberland. I know I recognized a few names in the chat. I know some of you, we've corresponded already. I am the director of the master's program, and help, among my other roles here, help the Department of Health Policy run the graduate programs and some of the programs for the medical students and the postdocs. I have been at Stanford way longer than I am going to own up to. We'll just leave it at that. But also perhaps worth noting is I am also an alum of the master's program in health policy. So in addition to helping run it, I have experienced it as well. So I know of what I speak here when I start talking about the classes and the coursework. So as we mentioned, we're going to do our best to cover the important and relevant information about the program. A lot of the information we have up here are questions that we have gotten over the years about the program and how to think about the application process. And we'll go through all of what that information, and then we'll answer some of the pre-submitted questions at the end. And finally, once we get through all that, if you have any further questions, please we'll open up the Q&A box or the chat box for everybody to enter it. Then we're going to ask you to hold the questions until the end, if possible. That way it just allows us to sort of go through, first of all, make sure that we have gotten through all the information, and then also address everybody's questions at the end. All right, so without further ado, we're gonna move through our information. First thing that I always think is good to know about is sort of what is health policy? Who are we? What do we do? Health policy is a field that investigates how social factors, financing systems, organizational structures and processes, health technologies and personal behaviors affect the accessibility, quality, and cost of healthcare, and ultimately how they affect the health and well-being of us or of the patient group that folks might be interested in helping, or larger populations. And the master's degree, what we hope to do with the master's degree in health policy is to provide students with the skills to conduct and interpret research in health policy and clinical decision-making. Our curriculum offers courses across a wide range of health policy areas, including health economics, health insurance and government program operation, health financing, international health policy and economic development, cost effectiveness analysis and the evaluation of new technologies, data science, health law and ethics, health systems operations, and then along with that, also all of the relevant statistical and methodological approaches needed to really investigate these areas. So why Stanford, though? Why would Stanford be a really good place to study health policy? So I don't think anyone will disagree with me with this following statement, which is health policy is inherently interdisciplinary. It is where the fields such as medicine, economics, decision sciences, business, engineering, public health, political science, law, and ethics intersect, right? This is where all of these different fields come together, and health policy is at its center. Stanford offers a particularly rich environment to study and work in health policy, as this university really strongly encourages interdisciplinary work. And I mean, so there's sort of that sort of thought paradigm, like, oh, everybody should do interdisciplinary work, but also everyone is located on the same campus. So we have all these different schools. So we have the law school, the business school, the School of Engineering, School of Humanities and Sciences, the medical school, all on the same campus, and all of the departments within those schools. So it really both physically and sort of as a paradigm, or the culture is to do this interdisciplinary work. I often say to our students, I point out that they can, take a class at the business school in the morning, run next door to go talk to an economics professor, come back to Encina Commons, which is where the Department of Health Policy is, to have a meeting with their advisor, then maybe bike over to the medical center to have a meeting with someone who's perhaps offering clinical advice on a project that they're working on, make their way to the School of Engineering for another class that they're taking, and, come back to Encina Commons to work on a problem set with some of their classmates, all in one day. I mean, this is, that is totally possible here on campus. You'll get in your 10,000 steps, don't get me wrong, but you'll, get in plenty of exercise. But, that sort of interdisciplinary work is easy to do. All right, let's see. Let's talk about the history of the program. So we truly have decades of training experience. This program has been in existence for many, many years and has produced many really impressive alumni. For those who are interested in taking a look at more recent graduate bios and what they're doing and what they, where they are, I have the link up there on the slide. This is easily accessible from our website as well. Please do not be put off with the last little bit on the URL there with the PhD graduates. That was, just the way the website got set up. There is information on our master's alumni as well. And also, if you're interested in the bios or interests of our current students, those are on our website under the trainee section as well. And you can just get a sense of, who our current students are and what they've been doing. In terms of alumni, our graduates have gone on to work in basically anything you could think of doing with health policy, our alumni have done. They've gone on to work in academia and have had impressive research careers. They've worked for healthcare organizations, they've worked for government organizations, they've worked for NGOs, or they've also gone into industry, and especially locally in our tech rich environment here. So lots of different career paths for our alumni, because I know that is a question that comes up quite frequently. All right. So in terms of our curriculum, it's another question that comes up quite a bit. We are, most of our students typically complete the master's program in 2 years. All candidates are expected to satisfactorily complete 45 units of graduate coursework, as well as a master's thesis that represents original health policy research, and that is a critical component of the program. We do expect all of the students to take core courses in statistics and cost effectiveness, modeling methods, as well as courses in foundational health policy topics and methods. And in addition to satisfying those core course requirements, students are expected to take additional courses in one of 4 concentration areas. And those include clinical decision-making, empirical methods, health policy, or implementation science. Those are those 4 concentration areas. Additionally, from that coursework, students are expected to take a certain number of research units. So that's part of that, working on the thesis. And also there's expected elective units. It might be good to know, or might be helpful to know, that many of our students wind up taking more than this. There are so many great courses offered at Stanford that are relevant to health policy. So it's, many students take more than what's listed on the core requirements. But I do encourage you to look at that that requirement page on our master's website. Applicants often ask me, what concentration area should they put on their application? What should they be thinking about? And what I usually say is think about, go to the website, take a look at the courses, take a look at the methods that those different concentration areas offer, and that the courses that are required for those areas offer. And really think about what speaks to you, what tools that, those courses are going to offer tools that you as a researcher potentially could put in your toolbox. Think about what methods would you like to acquire? Should you be admitted to the program, would you like to acquire and be able to use for these areas of health policy interest that you have? And that's really the best advice I can give. It's about what tools you want to be able to use and to be able to do the work that you're interested in. So what speaks to you is really the question. All right. Okay, other questions that we get is sort of generally about the application now. Folks have asked how many applications we get and how many students we admit. So as you can see on the slide, roughly, we've had in the recent years, we've had a range of 40 to 75 applications per year, with approximately 5 to 10 students admitted and matriculating per year. Please note that compared to other master's programs, that is a small number. There are many master's programs that are much larger. It is a small group. We do anticipate continuing this size, or this small size, to be true for the next few years at least. And part of that, I will say, is, we like our small but mighty approach, because it actually allows us a lot of flexibility and in terms of working with the students and being able to make sure that they are able to really pursue their interests and be successful in the program, and allows them to actually really get the hands-on research experience that they want and need to do the health policy work that we're teaching them about. It also allows semi-jokingly say, this small program size allows for an excellent faculty to student ratio. And I say this somewhat facetiously, but I will say that advising is a critical cornerstone, of our program. Our faculty are truly committed to working closely with our students and to make sure that they are successful. They meet frequently with their advisees to discuss classes, research interests, research progress, career plans, etc. And it's a very integral part of the program. Now, we also get questions on whether students need to identify an advisor before they, during the application process. That is not the case. They do not need to reach out and contact and get confirmation that a faculty person will be their advisor during the application process. The program will assign advisors to admitted students the summer before they matriculate. And this is done based on interest, background, concentration areas. So it's meant to be a custom fit. I do know that we ask in the application, the admissions committee asks that applicants list faculty that they might be interested in working with. But again, there's no need for applicants to reach out to faculty to get some sort of confirmation or touch base with them ahead of time. The list is really just the admissions committee's a way for the admissions committee to get one more way of them to get a sense of what you might be interested in doing and who you might be interested in working with. So hopefully that's helpful to know. Okay, let's see. Requirements. Again, lots of questions about requirements that we've gotten over both this year and in years past. A couple things that I want to mention that are not specifically listed on the slide, but I want to be sure you all hear, which is that the program is very much committed to holistic reviews of the applications. Our admissions committee recognized that applicants will come from different backgrounds and with different experiences, are at different points in their careers or educational careers, and each application is given a full review, and all aspects of the application are looked at. It is important to note that in order to be eligible to apply, and this, just so you know, this is a Stanford level thing, this is not a program level thing, the applicants must hold or expect to hold at time of enrollment a bachelor's degree from a U.S. college or university with that has been accredited by a regional accrediting association. Applicants from institutions outside of the U.S. must hold or expect to hold by time of enrollment the equivalent of a U.S. bachelor's degree from a college or university of recognized standing. For those of you who are applying from an institution outside of the U.S., there's a great site on the Stanford graduate admissions site. There's a great link for international applicants, and I really encourage you to take a look at that so you can get the full list and information there. It is important to know this year, though it might change in future years, that the GRE is optional. You will note that we do not list GRE on our requirements list right there. Truly optional. Mcat, for those of you with a medical background, Mcats are also optional. If you took them and you feel that they, submitting those test scores will, reflect strength of yours that you feel is relevant to your application, then by all means, please submit them. If you, have not had a chance to take those tests, the GRE or the Mcats yet, or just weren't particularly happy with your scores, we do not need to see them. At least this year. The one other thing I will mention, aside from the things that are listed there, is that it's, I have gotten questions in the past about what the admissions committee might be looking for, or the program might be looking for. I mean, obviously, I'm interested in health policy, but it is important to note that our core coursework involves quite a bit of quantitative, the core coursework have a lot of quantitative classes, as I mentioned, statistics and other biostatistics and other quantitative research methods. And so being able to demonstrate a background, a solid quantitative foundation is helpful. So what does that mean? That means like math or calculus courses in your undergrad, statistics work in your undergrad, or perhaps in, if you did a master's program before applying to us. Or quantitative work or research experience. Anything that can demonstrate a strong quantitative foundation is helpful. All right, now to the things listed on the slide. The things that are required for the application, first and foremost, is the statement of purpose. And we ask you to list a concentration area and a policy area of interest in the statement. Many questions about what we want there. Applicants should really take this as the statement of purpose as an opportunity to tell the admissions committee about themselves, right? Tell the admissions committee what you hope to tackle health policy wise, and why the concentration area that you're thinking about, focusing on is going to help you do that. It's an opportunity to introduce yourself to the admissions committee and give them a sense of what excites you in terms of health policy and what you hope to do. And you can also throwing in why Stanford might be the place to help you do this can also be helpful. All right, I'm going to stop and let Elizabeth take over and talk a little bit more about the rest of the requirements here.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Okay, perfect. So continuing on with the application requirements, as soon as you submit your application, just kind of jumping a little bit off the slide, you would have to submit a $125 application fee, and that is set by the university. The university does offer limited waivers, and I can post the link for that if any of you might be interested in possibly seeing if you might qualify for an application waiver. I would like to note that our department unfortunately doesn't have any bearing on who qualifies for a waiver or who gets a waiver. So that's completely done through the graduate admissions office, but I can provide the link for that. You will need 3 letters of recommendation, professional references, at least 3. You don't have to give more than that, but if you'd like to, please, by all means, we're happy to see it. All of the letters of recommendation will be submitted online. So after you fill in the name and contact information in the application for your references, they'll receive a link and instructions on how to fill that out. So we don't accept paper letters of recommendation. So they'll be all through the online portal. Also, for those who are international students, you may need to take a Toefl and that English proficiency exam. This again is another university requirement that we unfortunately cannot waive. However, if you have attended a university or you're from a country that maybe, the official language of the country is English and all of my instruction was in English, but I don't qualify for in one of the countries that are listed on the international website that I provided earlier, that are automatically exempt from taking the Toefl. There is a Toefl waiver available. Now, on the Toefl waiver, it does state that you would fill it out if English is not your first language. And if English is your first language and you still kind of fit into the other categories, I would say go ahead and just fill it out anyway. Better to be safe than sorry. It's a free waiver application, and so all it could do is help with that process. The minimum Toefl score is a score of 100, so you would need to provide us with a score of 100 or greater. If you do take your Toefl prior to the application deadline, but the official score doesn't reach us before then, we just encourage you to go ahead and in the application, there should be a section where you can indicate a self-reported score. So just put your score there. I think it takes about, if I remember correctly, about 6 days for you to see your score after you've taken the Toefl. So as soon as you get that unofficial score, you can go ahead and input that in your application. And when and you can submit your application if all other things are set. And when we receive that official Toefl score, it'll still be automatically added to your file. So that should be absolutely fine. For unofficial transcripts, we'll need unofficial transcripts from all college and university degrees and courses. I believe the requirement right now is any course or university degree that you have taken that was at least a year. If there's anything that's less than that you feel like will help your application, by all means, please add it in. We won't reject your application or say, oh, you added too many transcripts or something like that. So you can always add in, but that's just the minimum requirement. We will not need official transcripts unless you are admitted into the program. So just to avoid a situation where I paid for an official transcript to get it to apply to the program, and you may or may not be offered admission. So just remember that that's not necessary unless you're actually offered admission. Then we'll request that specifically for official transcripts. And we'll also need your CV with any relevant work experience and research experience. I do get a question a lot, like, do I have to be a doctor, or do I have to have a certain type of background to apply for the program? Definitely not. The only educational requirement is that you have that bachelor's degree that Corinna mentioned earlier in any field of study. But of course, we want to make sure that you also have that quantitative background, and that you can demonstrate your interest, research interest in the program in health policy. I think that's, yeah, okay, looking at my notes here. That's what I have there. So on to our application deadlines and our timeline. So the application deadline for the master's program, the final deadline is February 15th, 2022 at 11:59 p.m. I encourage you, by all means, please, 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 please do not wait to the last day, the last hour to submit your application, because it has happened before where applicants are submitting at 11:30 p.m. and the system is crashing because we have 50 people trying to submit at the same time. So you definitely want to avoid that situation. And again, that's the final deadline. If there's not much that we can do to try and make something happen after that deadline. So we really want to make sure that you've done all this work to talk to people, to give you letters of recommendation and do all these things. We want to make sure that you get your application in on time. For the Knight Hennessy applicants, we are requesting that you get your applications in by December 1st, so that we can keep in tandem with the Knight Hennessy scholarships program interview dates and the like, so that we're in time within their timeline as well. So make sure that you get that in as well. I would say 11:59 p.m. that day is the deadline for that. But please, again, try not to wait to the last minute. And I think we go ahead to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is just a general timeline of the whole process. So applications, again, due February 15th or December 1st if you have applied for the Knight Hennessy Scholarship. And we will be reviewing applications. The admissions committee will be reviewing applications between February and March. And if we're going, whatever interviews that we're offering, we will offer them, I would say, between mid to late March. You could be expecting that. And then decisions and admission offers, the admission offers will be made sometime in April. So we definitely don't want to give specific dates because, of course, things can shift, and we want to be able to be flexible. And then we also, again, just want to note that all of the applications are being reviewed in a holistic manner. The best thing that you can do to help your application is to just get all your materials together and to get them in on time. That's the best chance that you have for your application. And I also like to state that for the Knight Hennessy scholars applicants, again, we are working in tandem with that program, because it is a separate program with their schedule. So just keep your eye out for any decisions and emails that we might send out. And I think that's it for me.
I just one additional thing. I just want to confirm, if you are all ready with all of the materials that you need to submit, your
Yes.
CV, your personal statement, you may submit, right?
Yes.
And then even if your letters of recommendation haven't come in, like if you're ready right now, you can submit
Yes.
the application, and your letters of recommendation can still get submitted or will still get submitted. Right?
Yes. By all means, please, if you have all your application materials ready and you're just waiting on letters of recommendation, go ahead and submit. That way, as those letters are coming in, it's just getting added to your profile automatically. So you don't want to say, oh, I'm waiting to the last day because the recommender hasn't submitted their stuff yet. Go ahead and submit that, and everything will kind of will come together.
But please be sure to follow up with your if you
Yes.
please follow right. The applicants should follow their on the site to make sure that the letters are coming in, and otherwise reach out to their recommenders.
Yes, because those letters do have to come in by the deadline. So even though you can submit without those letters being in, those letters still have to come in by the deadline in order to be considered part of your application.
Right. Let's move on. All right, so we do get questions about funding. I will say, unfortunately, at this time, our department only has a very limited amount of funding available for master's students. And we are unable to offer any sort of scholarships or fellowships. So basically, to be blunt, and I feel terrible about this, and we are working on this, but offers of admission to the program do not come with any financial support from the program for either stipend or tuition. So there are some resources that we list on our website that applicants might find useful. Those are that's information through Stanford, or applicants are obviously can look at outside resources, outside fellowships and scholarships to help support them during that time. All right. Let's move on to the questions that were submitted. I apologize if you submitted a question and it's not up here. This is what we had in our hands when we were generating the slides. Like I said, after I make my way, or Elizabeth and I make our way through this list, we'll have time for we'll ask you to submit questions if you have any further questions. So. Let's see. So as I mentioned, we did get questions on writing and the statement of purpose. The first two questions: what are we looking for? What areas should we focus on? Like as we mentioned earlier, the statement of purpose is really your chance to let the admissions committee know who you are and what you are interested in. So please talk about that. In addition to discussing your area of interest or areas of interest, let the committee know why you're interested in pursuing this health policy degree and why Stanford feels like the right place to do it. That's really the best I can offer there. I do want to make sure that everyone understands, though, this is the Master's in Health Policy is not a public health degree. It is not a Master's in Public Health or Stanford's answer to a Master's in Public Health. You may have noticed Stanford does not offer an MPH, but there, while there are definitely areas of overlap between health policy and public health, the fields are different. And what is offered in a Master's of Public Health, there are different topics and different methods that are part of that degree, and that that is different, very different from what we offer in a health policy, in our health policy degree. So I just want to be very clear that we're not Stanford's answer to an MPH. If you are very interested in public health, that's great. If you're curious, there are some other degree programs here at Stanford that more closely approximate what an MPH might offer. And so please feel free to reach out to me, and I can point you in the right direction. Okay, let's see. The third question: do I need a lot of research experience to apply for the master's program? There is not a need for a lot of research. We have had applicants who come straight out of undergrad with just a little bit of research experience under their belt. And we've had folks come in, with a lot of research. They've had research assistantships or are further in their educational careers and have had a chance to do more research. The important thing is this, this interest in acquiring research, more research experience and this quantitative background to allow students to really absorb the methods and research techniques that we hope our master's students will acquire. Let's see. This also, okay, this ties into the next question. What qualities does the department look for in our prospective students? Again, this, quantitative background, but the committee is interested in students who are focused on working in the field of health policy and interested in acquiring and pursuing the research skills that, that health policy work requires. Next question, do you accept students straight out of undergrad? I think I've mentioned it now several times. So yes, we've had applicants in the past straight out of undergrad who have gotten accepted. And and career options. Again, as I mentioned before, truly runs the full range of options for in the health policy arena. I've listed, academia, government organizations, healthcare organizations, NGOs, the industry, you name it, our education, you name it, our alums have done it. So, okay, I think that's, I think we've made our way through that. Those were the questions that we were able to, to pull out. I'm going to move on to just the final slide, just so you all have the emails, should you have any questions that you just want to fire off to us directly. But please, if you have questions that we didn't get to in the talk, please feel free to enter them. I think the Q&A box is one of the, is probably the best one, but if for some reason that's not working for you, please feel free to put it in the chat too. We're happy to take a look. All right.
And I would say the best way to reach me is through that hrpadmissions@stanford.edu email address. I did have some people look me up yesterday and and send some emails to my my personal Stanford account, and I say that because it's really centered towards those admission questions, so that way I can really get to you as quickly as possible when you reach me at that hrpadmissions at stanford.edu. So that's the best way to reach out to me if you're looking for questions, answers to any questions about the application.
Okay, let's see. So Sarah has a background in economics and finance and is writing or has written an econometrics research paper and is working on some empirical analyses and looking at yes, so sorry, and is already using Stata. So all of that background sounds very applicable to health policy work, and would be a very good foundation. That kind of background is a good foundation coming into the program for sure. Okay, Franca, the differences between the concentration areas and study interests. So, right, so the concentration areas, I mean, again, I encourage you to take a look at the courses, but sort of just to give you a sense. So we have our four concentration areas. I'll start with the clinical decision making. We'll do it alphabetically. We'll do the clinical decision making concentration. Is a concentration that offers students a bit more, offers students the tools of decision sciences. So this is like applying the methods for modeling, cost effectiveness, cost benefit analysis, and can, something perhaps that students might be interested in approaching health policy issues using those methods. Empirical methods tend to be for the students who are interested in doing larger database research, sort of data science kind of work. Health policy is again, everybody takes the core foundational methods classes. The concentration course there is our advanced health economics seminar, where students are expected to do a lot of reading and a lot of critical thinking around other research projects, and then develop a health policy research project of their own. The implementation science track involves basically, you know, the field of implementation science, where students are will take sort of, you know, research, think about how this this health policy or even clinical research has been done, how to apply it in a setting, and then assess the impacts of the program that was developed on the basis of the research. Again, big health policy implications. So again, take a look at those courses that are involved with the different concentrations. You can get further details on each of those courses on, there's a website called explorecourses.stanford.edu. And it can actually, you can get a further, you know, sort of an in-depth description of the courses that might help get everybody the information that they want about the different, the content of the different courses. Let's see. Wesley, for undergrads, what do you advise focusing, emphasizing if you do not have much research experience? And are the, okay, so again, I would say, you know, if you've not done a research project of your own, you might want to emphasize the coursework that you've taken, those courses that focus on health policy. Maybe you had a course project that you did and you enjoyed. That would be definitely relevant in those cases. Are the applications reviewed? No benefit to submitting earlier. Applications are, we look at the admissions committee looks at the batch of applications that comes in after the deadline. So it's all basically all at once. Let's see. So the statement of the statement of purpose, Salam, is roughly 2 pages, single spaced. You know, that I would say shoot for 2 pages. I'm sorry that we don't, if it's not on there on the website, but that's roughly what most applicants submit. There's no, we do it, you know, and like a normal sized font, obviously. Like, I think, Elizabeth, do we have recommendations on font or like the type or the size?
No, just make sure it's legible.
So standard size font, nothing,
Yeah.
you know, don't go super fancy, like don't, you know, whatever, you know, stick to the sort of standard. I think actually, stick to the standard, otherwise the application site doesn't, you know, like the Times New Roman or Calibri or, you know, or Arial,
yeah.
The application site doesn't take very kindly to it. So
any standard font is preferred.
yes. All right. Yeah, so Flora, again, just, you know, the interest in health policy, interest in, sorry, I'm sorry, I should read the question. I forget that it's not for, you know, if we're recording, my folks seeing the video won't see what I'm seeing. So the question was, I would like to ask that, are you looking for a specific trait or characteristic among the applicants? Again, just that, you know, interest in health policy, interested in pursuing research and getting the research skills for health policy. That is what this program is about. And this, you know, having a quantitative background that will help applicants, or help, if accepted, then help those master's students acquire those research methods that we are trying to help students get. Oh, good question. So from Anonymous, does the advisor in the application form have to be part of the core faculty, or can we list affiliated faculty members too? Again, so affiliated is fine. I would, core is good as well. Again, it's more of a interest, a way for the admissions committee to see what your interests are and sort of what fields you might be interested in pursuing. Let's see. Sorry. Yeah, again, sorry. So the question is, what help and directives can you offer to help waive the application fee? Again, I think that the site that Elizabeth provided, or I'm sorry, did you put it in the chat?
Yes, I did. I did put the link for the fee waiver in the chat. Again, our department doesn't have any control or bearing on who can get the waiver or who qualifies for the waivers. The waivers are offered by the university. So if you go on that website, whichever, you can look at the list of waivers that they offer, whichever one you may feel like you qualify for, you can go ahead and apply to that. But unfortunately, they are limited, and we don't have any bearing or control on that at this point. And again, unfortunately.
I will say that, I mean, the good news there is that we also, I mean, applicants have asked in the past whether applying for a fee waiver would somehow impact their application.
Sure, yeah.
That we don't even know.
Yeah, we don't.
So please, if you feel like you would qualify, please apply if using that site. So it will not in any way impact your application. Okay, a question saying in the application, it says to give an example of a dissertation topic you would be interested in pursuing. What elements in the topic are you looking for? How feasible should these topics be? Again, this is a way of the admissions committee getting a sense of what applicants might be interested in pursuing, what research methods they might be interested in using. This does not need to be a fully developed, grant. It is not meant to be a fully developed grant application. If you have ideas on how to approach this this question, then great. If you just want to list these certain interests or questions that you have that you might want to pursue, that's also great. Feasible, I mean, well, how feasible should these topics be? I mean, I think something within the realm of semi-feasibility would be good, or something feasible would be good. But you don't have to spell out the exact protocol you're planning on following. A question about a course that was listed on the FSI website. Does the health policy program offer this? I don't know about off the top of my head, I don't know about the specific course. I can tell you that, while we do have our requirements, our course requirements, there is a lot of leeway for students to take electives. And so if there are courses that a student is interested in, that is not part of the core curriculum or the concentration curriculum, there is time and actually the expectation that students will take other courses. So if for some reason it is not listed in the elective list, we recommend that students just sit down with their advisor and have a conversation about whether or not it apply, the course that they're interested in applies, and then we can sign off on it if everybody agrees that it's a good fit. We can't, it's hard to list every course that's offered at Stanford in our, we're potentially relevant to health policy in our elective lists. So, and I'm sorry, Elizabeth, I'll let you go.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so anyhow, it's hard, so we try to keep the list current, but people are always offering courses. So again, we try to be very flexible to allow students to pursue interests and take elective courses. let's see. Okay. Another question. What sort of quantitative experiences might be suitable to mention for bio undergrads? I did a few courses in physics, calculus, and biostats. I also did ARC programming and an internship. No, all of those are relevant. So obviously, and as Elizabeth mentioned earlier, if for some reason the courses you took or the work you did do not show up in your transcript, your standard transcript, like for example, let's say you took a Coursera course, an online course, feel free to submit that certificate that comes with the Coursera course. Or if you took a couple classes at another college that was different than your full undergrad institution, please submit those as well. But to answer the physics and calculus and biostats, all very very good quantitative background. The R programming and an internship, I would say that might be worth mentioning in your CV, for example. All of those are relevant and very pertinent to the program. Okay, another question. When I was going through the website, I saw that the core courses we take are about 43 to 45 credits. How feasible then would it be possible for students to take elective courses, especially outside the Department of Health Policy? Yes, so yes, it is a requirement. 45 units in the degree courses is required. However, remember our program is a 2-year program, which means that at the very minimum, most students are here for 6 academic quarters, and each quarter is roughly 10 units is what most of our our master's students take. So there are plenty of additional credits to fill with elective courses and other courses outside of that are listed in the requirements. Okay, next question. Because the program is heavily focused on research, would there be a sort of preference for people interested in doing PhDs afterwards? So the short answer is no. There's no preference one way or another. I mean, if someone is interested in pursuing a PhD afterwards, that's great. And we hope, we feel that we prepare students really well for that potential. But also we have many students who the Master's in Health Policy was the last degree that they did. It was a sort of a terminal degree, so to speak. So we try to the program. So we try to give our master's students, like I said, a super solid training in health policy research methods and content, so that if they wanted to, stop here and move on with their career from after doing the master's, they could. But if they wanted to pursue another degree, that's also possible. Can you speak a bit more to how flexible it is to take courses in other departments? Examples. Actually, if you just take a look at our list, you might notice that many of our our department moniker for the courses is HRP. You might notice that we already, even as part of our core courses, we have students taking courses in other departments. So, for example, our biostats series that we have our master's students take is in the epi department, because we know that course is phenomenal. Actually, that course series is phenomenal. Our students get a great education in biostatistics. So that's one there already. That's even in the core courses. We've had students take classes in the business school. We've had students take classes in the law school. We've had students take classes in the engineering school. It really it's very flexible. There are prerequisites for certain courses, so we always encourage our students to take a look at those and make sure that they've fulfilled certain prerequisites. But there is a lot of flexibility in cross-listing or in taking courses in other departments. Elizabeth, this next one. I can answer the first part, but I think you might be able to answer the second part better.
Okay.
So overall, for the 2 years, an average student would take about 60 credits through their time, is the question mark. or is the question, sorry. And then there's the question about course certificates. So I can say that many of our students will wind up taking more than the 45 credits. They don't necessarily all take 60, but they will wind up taking, many students, I will say, that last quarter or the last 2 quarters will lean heavily towards doing research units so that they can work on their thesis. And we actually encourage them to do that because the thesis is a lot of work. And, as we said, it's original health policy research. But it is, so it's not necessarily just 60 units of classes that students will wind up taking. And many, once they've hit the 45 unit limit, will move sort of into this special graduate, the graduate student status, have completed all of my units status and can focus on their research and maybe take 1 or 2 classes as well. And then I'm sorry, they asked about, are you able to see the Q&A?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So the second part was about Coursera certificates and where to upload them. So you definitely upload them in the other documents section, or the education section of the application. Yeah, you can list it in the education section of the application, but if you do that, I would also say to also upload the Coursera certificate in the other document section of the application. So anything additional that's outside of the minimum requirements, any other document, you can upload that in the other document section.
Letters of rec. What are we looking for from the letters of rec, or what is the admissions committee looking for? There, I would say, letters of, and I think this applies to it's not just our program. I think this applies to any graduate program. It should be from people who know your interest in health policy, can speak to your potential as a researcher, and can speak to your potential as a grad student and health policy work, researcher or health policy person. So that I would say, and having people ask me sometimes like, oh, I've been working for a while, should I, having a mix is often helpful. If you've been working for a while, getting something from, someone you've been working with, but also having a letter from one of your professors, if you're not too long out of school. Those are always, having a mix of a range of people who can speak to your potential is always helpful. So let's see, a bit more about interest in concentration areas. So I think again, I would encourage you to take a look at the concentration areas and the coursework that is expected or offered in those concentration areas, and see which one speaks to you in terms of what you're hoping to do. So in this case, if you were hoping to look at you said I'm interested in child health policy implementation in countries with weak governance. You could imagine doing doing large database analysis and looking at differences between child health policy implementation in countries with stronger versus weak governance. You could imagine doing some sort of decision sciences work with modeling certain program implementation and potential for different where different factors influence those outcomes. Or you could think about using the tools of implementation science to implement policies and then assess their impact. So again, I encourage you all to look at those concentration classes and see what they offer and see what speaks to you most. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I just don't want to keep people too far over time. So let's see, how's the program, the one question is, how has the program changed over the years? In relation to that, can you elaborate more on what makes the program special? Again, I think let's see, I'll answer the second part first, which is that I think Stanford's interdisciplinary nature and just the sheer fact that we're all on the same campus make this program special. It allows our students to work with people in all sorts of different departments and fields. Also the fact that we have this close advisor to advisee relationship and this opportunity for students to work closely with our faculty on their research projects, which makes it pretty remarkable. And how has the program changed over the years? I think as health policy has changed over the years, so has our program changed. There are now many different to some degree better ways to do the research, thanks to computers being stronger and faster. There have been different research techniques developed over the years, and so I'd say it's more we try to encompass all of those changes, and that has made the program stronger and better, is what I think personally, but that's my opinion. And certainly, so the question, and then there's the question, and I'm going to make this the last question so I don't keep you all over time. Would you recommend, the question is, would you recommend that we talk about a thesis topic of interest in our statement of purpose? Sure, if that's something you would like to talk about and you feel like that gives the admissions committee a chance to really get to know you and what gets you excited about potentially doing the program, I think that's a perfectly lovely way to talk about your interests and what you're hoping to do. So but again, it's about sort of introducing yourself to the admissions committee is how you should think about the statement of purpose. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Again, please feel if there are other questions or things that you're still mulling over, or certainly as you start working on the application, if you haven't already, and things come up, please do feel free to reach out to us. We hope this was all useful to everyone. Elizabeth, did you want to add anything?
Just want to say thank you again all for your time. Thank you for your questions, and we look forward to receiving your applications.